Unmucked didn't have to tell them why they were doing this. They already knew. When the dragon moved, it moved like something that remembered pain. Its turret turned slower now, heavier, filled with purpose. Inside, the gunner crouched behind new controls, staring through periscopes refitted for a weapon no book had ever described. The trigger no longer launched a shell, it unleashed heat. Test range, Oahu, a concrete bunker stood alone, waiting. Fire, Unmucked ordered. The dragon exhaled. Into seconds, the bunker melted into a pool of glowing sludge. The air screamed. Men who watched stood silent, awed and frightened by what they had made. You could smell the fear on your own skin, a technician wrote later. It wasn't just the fire. It was knowing we'd built something that shouldn't exist. By autumn 1944, 8 dragons had been born. 8 metallic beasts painted olive drab, hiding their true nature beneath ordinary armor. No insignia, no marks. To the enemy's eyes, they were just Shermans until they breathed. Doctrine followed invention. The Marines called it corkscrew, and Burn approached the bunker in a spiral. Fire short bursts to seconds, 3 at most, then let the napalm do the rest. It wasn't about precision anymore. It was about fear. Light 'em up became more than an order. It meant erase. Inside the holes, men felt every heartbeat of their machines. She's alive, Private Donnelly said, patting the armor. And she's meaner than hell when fuel ignited. The roar wasn't just sound, it was a revelation. The dragons were awake, and the world was about to learn what fire could remember. A hiss became a roar. A tongue of fire uncoiled from 431's barrel, a river of flame that reached farther than any bullet could dream. The first bunker vanished beneath it. Napalm crawled through cracks, poured into slits, devoured oxygen. Inside, men suffocated before they burned. Outside, Marines froze. They'd seen explosions before, but never this. 1 tank, 3 bunkers gone. We saw hell open, a Marine said, and it was on our side. By dusk, the balance had shifted. The Japanese no longer fought with silence. Now, silence meant fear. Wherever the dragons breathed, Marines followed. Corkscrew and Burn, Mez's voice ordered through static. Spiral in, fire, move, fire again. At Hill 380 to the fortress, Kurabayashi called the grinder. 4 flame tanks advanced together. Shells slammed into them, ringing like hammers on bells. Tank 433 took a direct hit, its track blown off. Evacuate! Someone shouted. Hold your ground, Mesa crackled over the radio. The crippled tank turned its turret and breathed. Flames poured from its barrel, forming a curtain of fire that shielded the others. The dragons advanced behind it, each burst carving molten pathways into the rock. We watched the flames crawl down the trenches, a Marine recalled. They screamed before we saw them. Fire had become more than destruction, it was strategy. The Japanese defenders had no answer. For every bunker they sealed, a new dragon found another crack. Concrete melted, stone cracked like bone, and the night turned orange. The Marines had stopped fighting for territory. They were fighting to make the island itself surrender. At the foot of Suribachi, Tank 432 faced a honeycomb of caves. Show them what fire sounds like, came the order. The gunner tilted the barrel upward and fired not into the cave, but above it. The roar echoed like a storm in stone. Within seconds, Japanese soldiers ran out the back, screaming. It was the first time Marines saw the Imperial Army flee. Fear had replaced honor. Everywhere the dragons went, the black sand changed color. Caves glowed orange, then collapsed. Napalm pooled in molten rivers. Anti-tank guns hunted them, desperate for revenge. But even when hit, the dragons burned back. Corporal Michael Rodriguez inside 434 watched one bunker refuse to die. He clenched his jaw and held the trigger 5 seconds, 10, 15. The barrel glowed red, then white. Stop, someone yelled. He didn't. At 45 seconds, the steel doors blistered, then split. Fire poured inside. The explosion that followed wasn't sound, it was a scream of heat. By nightfall, the defense line was gone. At dawn, 6 dragons led the final assault into a place Marines would call Bloody Gorge. They moved in a crescent formation, arcs of fire overlapping. No shadow survived. The gorge boiled with napalm. 8,000 gallons burned in hours. Major Mesa wrote later, it wasn't war anymore. It was purification. The island stopped fighting. It just burned. Kurabayashi's last message trembled on the page. The enemy's flame tanks are more terrible than artillery. We have no defense. The dragons had won, but in doing so, they had unmade the meaning of victory. When the guns fell silent, Iwo Jima no longer looked like an island. It looked like the surface of another planet melted, pitted, breathing smoke. 26,000 Americans lay dead or wounded. 21,000 Japanese had vanished into the very soil they'd sworn to defend. Marines wandered among the ruins. Their dragons stood silent, cooling, soot streaking their armor. We didn't conquer the island, Sergeant Donnelly whispered. We burned it out of existence. Fear had done what bullets could not. It shattered faith, melted courage, erased honor. Captured survivors said the same words again and again. We were not afraid of dying. We were afraid of burning. Statistics tried to define what had happened. 1,000 fortifications destroyed. 30% of Japanese casualties caused by flame. Marine losses down 40%. 8 machines had saved 5,000 lives. 8 machines had rewritten morality. Yet for those inside, victory tasted like ash. Maintenance crews scraped melted flesh from tracks, bone from armor. We gave the tank a soul, one gunner wrote. And it took ours in return. The dragons had made killing effortless to effortless. At the pull of a trigger, the world dissolved into orange. No face, no mercy, just heat. Major Mesa sat on his tank's hull that night, staring at distant fires. His hands trembled. We built something too powerful to stop, he murmured. And it obeyed. The island was silent. But the flames inside every man kept burning. The age of courage had ended. The age of fire had begun. After the war, the dragons vanished from sight. No parades, no monuments. By 1978, the last flamethrower tank was decommissioned, scrapped quietly, as if history wanted to forget. Only one remained, behind ropes at Quantico, Virginia. Its barrel scarred, its armor dimpled. A small plaque read, M for A3R3 flamethrower tank, Iwo Jima, 1945. No mention of screams. No mention of souls. Visitors saw metal, not memory. But veterans knew better. It's still hot, one whispered, touching the hull. The dragon's legacy lived not in museums, but in the doctrines it birthed. Washington learned that technology wasn't support, it was salvation. Okinawa awaited more. Combined arms became law, infantry, engineers, tanks, and fire, moving as one organism. The enemy would no longer face men, they would face evolution itself. But progress came with a curse. Those who commanded fire carried it home inside them. Some drank, some prayed, some couldn't stand the sight of smoke. The dragons had changed everything inside and out. Iwo Jima marked more than victory. It marked transformation. The warrior's age ended in smoke. The engineer's age began in flame. 8 tanks, 360,000 gallons of napalm. Thousands dead, thousands spared. And one truth written in fire. War isn't won by courage or numbers. It's won when one side dares to imagine what hell looks like, and then builds it.